Early one morning, by that I mean between 11 and noon, Malachi Boogie and the Mad Baboon hatched a plan that they'd go to the moon. Set off looking for a rocket, but only found a spoon and a packet of crayons and a yellow balloon. No, no, said Malachi, this won't do. There's not enough lift in this balloon for two. Besides which, think of the details, Baboon. Where shall we eat and where shall we sleep? And there's really nowhere to sit. And how exactly do you see the crayons and spoon as a fit? Then it's back to the drawing board, said the Mad Baboon, as he rolled his eyes if in a swoon and licked some jam from the end of a spoon. This crayon may be of no use for going to the moon, but we can still use it to write the words of a tune, to make society swoon. A wondrous notion, a celestial ditty. But a silly old kitty and a Mad Baboon who hatched a plan that they would, well, you know. La 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 and da dee da, off to the moon we go. We've packed our bags and a pot of jam and tin of spams and fairy cakes and several bananas and breakfast flakes and bread and butter and potato eggs and of course a kettle of tea for you and me. Well, what do you think, said the Mad Baboon. Of your song? Yes, the song, whatever else. An excellent ditty, although I say so myself. Shall we write a musical, Malachi? I really feel quite inspired and not one bit tired. It's a new idea. Oh, to write a musical. To write a musical is really quite bold. About a silly old cat and mad baboon who hatched a plan they go to the moon. Later, said Malachi, and you really are quite bold, because I'm not that old. For now let's stay with the moon idea, upon which I am sold. The deflated baboon then turned to say, well, if you insist, and so we shall, but let's dress for the occasion. Dearest cat, you and I must become a lunar fashion sensation. You mean that we must strap up for the cold, said Malachi, upon which the mad baboon feigning a swoon did reply, Dearest cat, you really are the silliest that ever sat in a mat. Forget such nonsense at a time when we must fly. We must simply look exquisite if we are to take to the sky. Now, how shall I relate my delicate passion? The only way I know how, in dramatic, musical fashion. So with you as my witness, I do declare, with not a little panache and flair, that fashion is baboon's all-consuming passion. Baboon's dress sense is why they call him mad, and some even call him bad. Should we wrap up for the cold? Pish-posh. We shall dress up, oh yes, but not for the cold, oh no. We shall dress up, because we're bold. Now see here, dear cat, I don't do practicality as it makes me look tat. I'm thinking shades, top hat, patent shoes for celestial baboon, and for a trip to the moon, and for you, let me see, a feather boa and spats on a cat in a Panama hat in such a luxurious fur would really cause quite the fashion stir. What do you think? Why don't you think it'll make the masses blink? Especially when matched with a fashionable baboon. Such a fabulous notion. Oh, dearest cat, Mad Baboon has so many talents, as you well know, mostly in the way of putting on a show. Baboon, I know, said the cat. Yes, indeed, with more talents even than the many you already know. So you, Malachi Boogie, fashionable cat, must by now surely know that a talent for practicality was never one of them. Simply looking good was ever and always the height of them. Such talents are innate to fabulous Baboon. Okay, said Malachi. Baboon, you really are quite mad. Surely this fashion thing is just a fad. Oh no, said Baboon, because you see, my name is Zad, and I'm from Fashional Central, a place called Nad. And let me tell you, dear cat, while you can take the lad out of Nad, you can't possibly take Nad out of the lad, if you know what I mean. Especially me, a fashionable mad lad from Nad, named Zad, second name Vad, and I do declare that I'm Nad's most famous fashionable mad bad lad. Cat, do you like tongue-twisting ditties? Oh, good. See if you can repeat after me as fast as you can. Remember now, as fast as you can, even faster than Zad, mad bad Nad lad begat. My gad, Zad mad Nad lad be dad. Mad bad lad Zad, fashion gad. Zad, mad bad nad lad, son of Zad. Nad, bad mad lad Zad, quite the cat. Zad, mad bad lad from Zad, loves nothing more than a fad begat. Nad bad lad Zad, quite the cad, not yet mad, already a dad, and a fashion gad. Fashion gad, bad lad from fad mania nad, not yet a dad, cannot be Zad, but quite possibly, and very definitely, Zad. Or put simply, Zad, a lad prone to fads from Nad, a small bit bad, hugely fashion mad, a fashion gad, second name Vad, not yet a dad, or to put it another way, mad bad fashion gad, Vad from fashionable Nad? Oh, I really don't know, cat, it's so confusing. Have I ever told you about my dad? His name was Zad. He too was from Nad. He was a guitar player who'd only play in a tuning called Dadcat. Baboon, said Malachi, now you're driving me mad. I'd say you really are quite the lunar lad from Nad. Now see here, what we need to do is look around the house for stuff to make a moon rocket with. Should we ask the old blind mouse? Of course you're right, dear cat, said Baboon. It's just that I get so distracted, you see. Oh, silly me. But look at the time. In 2 hours it shall be 3. Oh, goodness me, shall we have some tea? Why, it's already afternoon, and I do declare that with a cup of tea in one's hand, there's simply no room for despair. To the moon we shall go. Yes, indeed. Though for now, I haven't the faintest notion of how we shall there proceed. That is to say, I have no idea right now, but somehow I feel it's none the less guaranteed. After all, with a cup of tea in one's hand, everything seems so possible. Tea, Malachi said, a most excellent notion, as fabulous a distraction as sleep in a bed. Can it be served with buttered bread? I say, Baboon, there's something in my head. With a washing basket and some bloomers, we can become hot air ballooners. And all we need is some needle and thread with several bloomers and perhaps sheets from the bed, and some rope and some net, and we have some of those in yon shed, I bet, and we can make a giant balloon in the garden shed. I say, Cat, Baboon said, I can't sleep in a washing basket. My notion is that we should bring the bed instead. Okay, said Malachi Boogie, bring the telescope, bring the bed. We may float it all yet with the hot air in your head. To the shed we shall go then, said Baboon. But which shed? Do you mean the shed that is the home to our friends, the blind old mouse, the curious but helpful grouse, the weary old owl, the guinea fowl? I do indeed. Well, then it's agreed. After tea we shall make speed. To the shed we shall go. Rise owl from his daytime bed, but only after we have ourselves been fed with buttered bread and supped from glorious tea. An old blind mouse called Fred was half asleep in his bed. Hey, Fred, wake up, it's me, the grouse. Do you know that you snore a lot for a mouse? Well, you do, so much so that I'm sure they'll hear you in the house. Oh, grouse, why do you have to wake such a sleepy mouse? Because I see something. Ah, yes, mouse. Can you see Malachi and Baboon coming hither, carrying a spoon, other stuff too, a bed, some crayons, a yellow balloon, all heading this way? Can you see them? I think they also have a telescope. Can I see them? No, I can't, you silly grouse. You know me, I am a blind mouse. But please do tell me more of what you see. Well, one of them's bringing tea. Oh, yippee, I love tea, said Grey Guinea. And Baboon seems to be singing a tune about going to the moon, said the grouse. And the cat's wearing a boa and some spats and a Panama hat, and the Boon is in top hat and tails. I do hope they're careful not to stand on the old snail. It must be some sort of occasion. So I simply had to wake you, mouse, said Grouse. Greetings, friends. Lovely afternoon, said the Mad Baboon. The cat and I decided to go to the moon. To the moon, said the Grouse. But you've never even left the house, said the Mouse. I've brought some tea, said the delighted Guinea. Let's have some tea. You can tell me everything along the way. Yes, the moon, said Baboon, and we mean to go soon. In fact, we shall go this afternoon. Would you all like to come? The blind old mouse, the grouse, the weary old owl, the guinea fowl, Malachi Boogie, and the Mad Baboon would make congenial company for a trip to the moon. I say, guinea fowl, have you seen the weary old owl? You haven't seen me, but I've heard you, said the sleepy owl. No need to be such a grumpy owl, said the guinea fowl. Now what is the matter, said the owl, and what on earth is this clatter? You're making enough noise to wake the dead, and why on earth have you brought your bed to the garden shed? They plan to go to the moon in a big balloon made from the bed, said Fred. Well, I for one am wary of that, Fred, said the owl. Why use the bed, the owl said, when you can use the shed? Then at least we'll all have a bed. And so it was that the blind old mouse, curious but helpful grouse, the weary old owl, the guinea fowl, Malachi Boogie, and the Mad Baboon agreed upon a trip to the moon in a hot air balloon made from the garden shed that contained everyone's bed and, of course, a crayon, a spoon, some tea, and some bread. And so, to cut a long story short, in the late afternoon, a Mad Baboon outside the shed showed the cat, the grouse, but unfortunately not the blind old mouse, that most curious baboon trick of turning a small yellow balloon into a giant one using only a crayon and a spoon. The old blind mouse and the curious but helpful grouse set about sewing their house, and by that I mean to say the garden shed, to the bed, and thereby attaching the shed to the bed. The shed in turn was attached by means of rope to the by now giant yellow balloon. Outside the shed, the giant yellow balloon was held in place by bloomers, bedsheets, curtains, quilts, and a huge net, all expertly sewed by the guinea fowl and the weary old owl, the curious but helpful grouse, and the blind mouse. The stove in the shed was piped to a chimney. The chimney could fill the balloon with hot air via an ingenious system devised by the Mad Baboon, the technical complexity of which had the others agree that, sure as gad, Baboon was certainly the brightest lad that Ned had ever had. And even though he was quite mad, on this trip to the moon they all agreed that he would be called Captain Zed. Malachi Boogie and Mad Baboon were serving the finished balloon that afternoon when Daisy Dewdrop, Prissy Cat, who lived with the grumpy cat at the laundromat, called the two over for a chat on the shed's mat. Now stop this foolishness at once, she said. The moon is no place for a garden shed, nor the blind old mouse, the curious but helpful grouse, the guinea fowl, and this silly old owl who's not as wary as he ought to be. Nonsense, Daisy, said Baboon. There's nothing to fear on the moon. I've been there before, you see, and the man on the moon, he knows me. The lunar baboon who played fiddles with the man on the moon. Are you coming too? We shall be home tomorrow at noon. All aboard, me hearties, to the moon we shall go for parties. And so it was that Daisy Dewdrop, the blind old mouse, the curious but helpful grouse, the weary old owl, the guinea fowl, Malachi Boogie, and the Mad Baboon set off on their way to the moon in a hot air balloon made from the garden shed that contained everyone's bed. Up and up and up they flew. Halfway to the sky they met a curlew who said, I've never seen a baboon at this height, and where could you be off to at this time of night? To the moon, dear curlew, we have taken flight. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Zed, captain of the yellow balloon. This cat here is Malachi, my assistant goon. The curlew landed on the window and said, Well, my name is Natty. Natty? What a wonderful name. Tell me, "You all right then, Natty? Are you feeling a bit batty? How'd you fancy a trip to the moon with a mad baboon and a daft catty that's rather chatty? We also have a blind old mouse, curious but helpful grouse, the weary-old owl, the guinea fowl, and another cat called Daisy. It's terribly kind of you, baboon, but no. Please do send Moon my regards from below. Then safe passage to you, dear Curlew. I wish you good night." On and on they flew, and the moon, it just grew and grew, or so it seemed, until they landed with a thump and a bump and a gentle ba-dump. "We're here," said Malachi. "You did it, baboon." "Oh my," said the grouse. "We'd better tie down the house," she said, and by that she really meant to say the shed. "Will you help me, Fred?" "To tie down the shed," said Fred. "Yes, indeed," said Owl, "for I am most weary of it flying off with guinea fowl." And so, to cut a long story short, the mad baboon, Daisy, Malachi, the curious but helpful grouse, the blind old mouse, the guinea fowl, had secured the balloon, but their tummies had started to growl. "Mad baboon is on a unicycle on the moon, with the cat on his head juggling bread. A teapot, some crumpets, a tin of jam, and some spam, and some groovy bananas for Mad Baboon. Roll up to the Mad Baboon's picnic." And just at that moment they heard a boom that came from the moon. "What's all of this noise and scratchiness on top of my head at a time when I'm fast asleep in bed?" "What in the moon could that be?" said the curious grouse. "The man in the moon," said the mouse. "Oh no," said the cat, "I think we're perched on top of his hat." "Oh dear," said Guinea. "Mr. Moon, it's only us, you see. I'm Guinea Fowl with a weary owl, a grouse, a mouse, 2 cats, 1 in spats, and a mad baboon. We decided to come to the moon for a picnic. I do hope we're not intruding." "Well, you're never intruding if you're here for canoodling," Moon said. "Can't you see us?" said Fred. "Of course not," Moon said, "because you're on top of my head." "Not to worry, dear Moon," said Mad Baboon. "I shall lower us down on the bed, with your permission, of course." "Please proceed." "Do indeed," the Moon said, as he inspected the lowering bed. "I do hope we're not intruding." "Well, you're never intruding if you're here for canoodling." And so it was that soon after securing the balloon, that Mad Baboon and Daisy, Malachi, the curious but helpful grouse, the blind old mouse, and the guinea fowl had been lowered down onto the bed to meet the man in the moon, to which the moon said, "Such a collection of creatures with such diverse features. Hello and welcome. I am Moon." "I say, Moon," said Baboon, "can we offer you some tea?" "Some tea from me? How could Moon disagree? But I fear your cups are too small for me, and I have no hands to hold your cup, so how shall I sup?" "Dearest Moon," said Baboon, "Mad Baboon can turn a small cup of tea into a giant one with a crayon and a spoon, a trick known only to Baboon, and no need to hum and haw for want of a paw, for you shall have a straw, and the cup shall rest in the corner of this bed, so take Baboon's advice and relax your head." And so it was that the Mad Baboon, Daisy, Malachi, the curious but helpful grouse, the blind old mouse, the guinea fowl, all picnicked on that bed that hung in front of the moon's head, and all had a fine time, and all were fed on that bed with all sorts of things both lovely and delicious. Then the owl became less weary and said, "Moon, if I might be so bold, I once heard it told that you're very old." "How old?" said the curious grouse. "What a thing to ask," said the blind old mouse. "Trust the owl," said the guinea fowl. "Ah, yes," said Moon. "Do not worry, fowl, for I take no offence from the owl. Now see here, all of you. What your weary owl says is true. Moon has been around for longer than any clock has measured, but he is also much younger than any of you. This is the riddle of the moon, and I challenge you to figure that one out, Baboon, and I fear it will take more than a crayon and a spoon." And the moon continued addressing them all. "Now ponder it round in your heads, this strangest thing the moon has said. Old and young at the same time, it's true. But how is the moon much younger than you? And think it not a silly rhyme. Are you ready for a clue?" "Yes." "Okay, well here you go. Some say I'm related to Father Time." Giggled the moon, enjoying his guest's confusion. "So tell me how this is so." "I'm stumped," said the owl. "Me too," said the fowl. "Most curious," said Daisy Cat. "I've a pain in my head," said Fred. "I never said I was a genius," said Malachi. "It's easy," said Mad Baboon. "Moon is never more than 28 days old at any time, so he is always young." "Well played, Baboon," said a very surprised Moon. "I never thought you'd guess so soon." "Well, Baboon solves riddles while Malachi fiddles," said the Mad Baboon. "Do you play the fiddle, Malachi?" said Baboon. "I do indeed." "Then we must have a jig, a hale and hearty rig, a ceilidh for me," said the Moon. Oh, what's this? My friends, the dog, the frog, and the fish are arriving in a space rocket, the Lunar Sprocket." And so the trio emerged from the rocket, lowered themselves down the rope and onto the bed. "Hello, my name is Little Dog, and these are my assistants, Dizzy Fish and Dafty Frog. Behold our dish," said Dizzy Fish. "For friendship's sake, can we offer you cake? The most fabulous mooncakes ever baked." "Oh, Little Dog, Dizzy Fish, and Dafty Frog, it is so good to see you," said Moon. "Let me introduce you to the Mad Baboon, Daisy, Malachi, the curious but helpful grouse, the blind old mouse, the guinea fowl, and the weary old owl. We're just about to listen to Malachi Baboon play the fiddle." "I shall enjoy it," said Little Dog. "Please proceed," said Dafty Frog. And just then, as Malachi took up the fiddle to play a hey diddle diddle, an event occurred that nearly made them all piddle. A cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish ran away with a spoon. "Did you see that?" the moon amazed said. "I certainly did not," said Fred. "He nearly knocked me off the bed," Malachi said. "I never knew cows were related to any type of fowl, said the wary old owl. My spoon, said Baboon. My dish, said the fish. No matter, said the moon, they are somewhere on my head. I say, Moon, said the curious grouse, are you sleepy? Oh, yes, said Moon, I shall nod off soon. Me too, said the grouse. I'm so sleepy I'm ready to swoon. Just then did the dish turned up with the spoon. Excellent, said Baboon. I have back my spoon, and I my dish, said the fish. Then I suppose it's time for bed for all of us sleepyheads, said the moon. And you're welcome to spend the night on top of my head. Can you pull the bed up to the garden shed, the moon said. Yes, said Fred. Thank you, Moon, said Baboon, and the rest of the creatures. Do call again soon, said the sleepy moon. I still want to hear Malachy's tune. And so it was. The mad baboon, Daisy, Malachy, cats, the curious but helpful grouse, the blind old mouse, the guinea fowl, and the wary old owl did snooze both in and on top of the big bed in the garden shed under the yellow balloon that brought them to the moon that stood beside a rocket containing the little dog, Daphne the frog, Dizzy the fish, and all were as content as they could wish. And the next morning, as the yellow balloon lifted off the moon, they all said goodbye to the moon, the little dog, Daphne the frog, and Dizzy the fish, and promised that they would all come back soon. Malachy, said Baboon, I'm really glad we went to the moon. Now let's all go fashion mad. One and all, come with Captain Zad. Next stop, Nad.